Nomad Podcast.
Hey, we're the Bitcoin Nomad family. We're bold and provocative, free and independent, decentralized and yet connected to the rest of the world. You don't talk about money? Well, we do, and we ask the question no one else is asking. Nomads can do anything, even the impossible. And with that, welcome back to another episode. I would rather say a special one and a short one, so I'm gonna keep this short today. But in this episode, I will explore the Anti-Money Laundering Authority slash Act slash AMLA, as the EU calls it, and they call it a crucial piece of legislation that apparently aims at combating and targeting financial crimes such as money laundering. And I just want to discuss the key provisions of it. And what impact it will have on our lives. So it will be implemented next year, 2025, but they already start with the process right now. They start with the data storage with all the countries in the EU, inclusive Switzerland, although Switzerland is not part of the EU, but they're in EFTA states, I think Iceland as well. So all these countries in the EU and EFTA states, luckily not the UK, because UK is outside of the EU and not part of the EU anymore, thanks to Brexit. They're gonna track you and your money. I can make an example of how AMLA will work. If you let's say you own 5K in a month and you buy a handbag, or I don't know, a chair, a nice designer chair, and it costs 7K, they're gonna call you and ask you, well, where did that extra 2K come from? And you're like, oh well, it's my money, I saved it, but did you pay a tax on that? Did you tell the authorities about those 2 extra K? It's totally absurd. You can think of me as if you want now. You can think I'm crazy, but that's gonna happen, and it's currently happening. I had some friends which had exactly that. They got called by their bank, especially people which I know who try to transfer money from their bank account to Nexo or to all those exchangers or to buy Bitcoin, right? They got called to say, hey, well, why? Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, it's a scam. You can't do that. That's how absurd it is. And I just want to quote one sentence here from the European Union, their website, what AMLA is. It says here, what is AMLA? Almost got it. There you go, about AMLA. AMLA is an EU authority which does not reach out to or request citizens to engage or cooperate on any investigation, project, or process. Doesn't sound right. But then why would banks or EU authorities call you and ask you for where did you get that money from, right? That's the lie, that's the absurdity. And funny enough, if you live in a nice residential area, you know your neighbors, you know your friends, but your friend thinks you do illegal businesses or you launder money out of your country in the EU. So this is only for the EU, right? It's not for, if you're outside of the EU, you're safe, but if you're inside the EU, you have a problem, because especially until next year, if you want to leave now, leave the EU now, but next year it's probably going to be too late, because they're going to track you, they're going to ask you where did you get that money from, and so on. So if your neighbor thinks that you launder money or do illegal businesses, even he doesn't have any proof, just thinks, he can call the police, he can call AMLA, the money laundering authority thing, and they can track you and charge you. Although they have no proof, they can freeze your bank accounts, they can freeze everything so that you don't have any money left. And guess what? People always talk about CBDCs and how CBDCs are dangerous, but what about AMLA? AMLA is a perfect start, at least, or a perfect example of how they try to implement a digital communistic regime, aka socialistic regime also, aka George Orwell 1984. Big Brother's watching you. That's how exactly the story starts. And this just sounds like a secret finance police. And I would even go as far to call it a Stasi, or you could also say Gestapo, but I'm not going to do that. But I would argue a second Stasi. DDR, people who lived through the DDR, you know what I'm talking about. Stasi, right? This is just absolutely astonishing and unbelievable. Just imagine if your friend thinks you launder money, they can just call the police without any evidence, and there you go, you're fucked, right? So this is unbelievable, and I even read through an article before saying that that the reason why they implemented it was to protect us, we the people of Europe. We have to be protected for anti-money laundering schemes and scams, and they even highlighted cryptocurrencies as a scam. I mean, what the fuck? So is the EU gonna charge me now if I own Bitcoin? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, because I don't want Bitcoin, because Bitcoin gives us freedom. And which also brings me to this. Bitcoin fixes exactly stuff like that. I mean, this is unbelievable. And when you think of it, luckily I'm a Bitcoiner, right? I know my ways around of something like this, but everyday people with everyday normal 0815 jobs, right? By the way, 0815 means normal job, like a desk job, or if you work on instructions, stuff like that, right? Normal jobs, just if you work in a coffee shop or or you own a fashion brand and you make money with that, right? They're gonna charge you for that, and they don't want you to get rich or be free. And this is why I think Bitcoin now fixes this, and we need Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the first thing that is decentralized. And when I just read through things like that, it's unbelievable. It's my money, I can do whatever I want with the money. But now here comes the bright side. Is it going to work? That's the question. Yes, they try to implement it. They will implement it for next year. They're already in the process of, as I said, data storage, processing data, gaining information from you data-wise and all that stuff. But will it work? That's a big question. Because remember the outages we had a few weeks ago? I posted on social media, on Twitter and LinkedIn and all the other platforms, on Nostr even, so much for CBDCs and digital IDs. If they can't even storage data and have server issues, how will they do that, right? How will they implement a digital ID, CBDC, or AMLA? Well, we can argue that stuff like that is simple software, right? It's not too hard to implement stuff like that, but data-wise, it will be a big data store. I mean, imagine if the banks nowadays need like 3 levels in their basement full of servers to store all the data. How much would that gonna be? Like, how much storage would they have to storage in servers? I mean, by the way, those servers have to be cooled like to negative 20 degrees Celsius. So even there, that uses more energy, right? So that will be really interesting to watch. People, this is the perfect time now to buy Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, and Bitcoin fixes stuff like that. That's what Bitcoin was invented for. Satoshi Nakamoto created this exactly for reasons like those, because he saw stuff like that coming. And it's unbelievable when you think of it. So people, stay curious, stay safe, stay, I would say, vigilant. Always stay on the right side of history. Don't stay on the wrong side of history, because history is written by the winners, not by the losers, right? We always have to look at both sides. This has some benefits, you could argue, but mainly for me, it's about control. Control of the EU, control of us, especially Europeans. And as a European, this is hurting me a lot, because Europe, it's not Europe anymore. For me, it's just a total communistic, digital dictatorship, if you want to say so, because this is not normal. This is control, and Bitcoin fixes this control. And when you want to buy Bitcoin, don't buy it with your bank account, because of exactly those reasons. They're going to track that. Buy it peer-to-peer at meetups. Buy it through Bitcoin ATMs. Buy it with cash. Don't buy it with your credit card. Or if you have neon banks, which are like an alternative to zombie banks. Zombie banks are basically banks that rely on credit. Neon banks are basically that rely on debit. I mean, Revolut is the best example. Buy it with those. But even there, be careful. Stay vigilant. Stay curious. And yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Nomad Podcast.